The historical events of 9/11. On September 11, 2001, a tragic event occurred. Many people lost their lives that day, leaving behind children, mothers, significant others, pets, friends, and so much more. That day, a group of terrorists decided to hijack a couple of airplanes, causing the towers to crash down and killing thousands of people who were inside. The following document was the speech that the president gave when he signed the commission bill. He talks about how he's very happy that many of the families of those whose lives were lost joined them there to celebrate. He also talks about how he worked hard to increase security and transportation systems so things such as the airplanes crashing won't happen again. He also doesn't fail to mention how he and his men are hunting down every person that was responsible for those events, and that he will do anything in his power to prevent anything bad from happening and ending the civilians' lives.
Live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. CNN Center right now is just beginning to work on this story, obviously calling our sources and trying to figure out exactly what happened, but clearly something relatively devastating happening this morning there. The south end of the island of Manhattan. That is, once again, a picture of one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
You can see these pictures. It's obviously something devastating has happened. And again, unconfirmed report that a plane has crashed into one of the towers there. We are efforting more information on this subject as it becomes available to you.
Right now, we've got Sean Murtaugh. He is a CNN producer on the telephone right now. Sean, what can you tell us about what you know?
This is Sean Murtaugh. I just was standing on the Vice President of Finance.
Sean,
Vice President of Finance for CNN.
Sean, we're on the air right now. What can you tell us about this situation?
Hello?
Yes, Sean, you're on the air right now. Go ahead. What can you tell us?
I just witnessed a plane that appeared to be cruising slightly lower than normal altitude over New York City, and it appears to have crashed into, I don't know which tower it is, but it hit directly in the middle of one of the World Trade Center towers.
Sean, what kind of plane? Was it a small plane, a jet?
It was a jet. Looked like a two-engine jet, maybe a 737.
You're talking about a large passenger commercial
Large
jet.
passenger commercial jet.
And where were you when you saw this?
I am on the 21st floor of 5 Penn Plaza.
Did it appear that the plane was having any difficulty flying?
Yes, it did. It was teetering back and forth, wingtip to wingtip, and it looks like it has crashed into probably 20 stories from the top of the World Trade Center, maybe the 80th to 85th floor. There's smoke billowing out of the World Trade Center.
Sean, what happened next? Does it appear to you that the plane is still inside the World Trade Center?
From my angle, I'm viewing south towards the Statue of Liberty and towards the World Trade Center. It looks like it has embedded in the building. I can't see from my vantage point whether it has come out the other side.
Sean, what about on the ground? Or any debris that is hit down there? Can you see
My vantage point is too far from the World Trade Center to make any determination.
This is a letter written by the ex-president George W. Bush. It's explaining to the public the latest updates on what happened on the 9/11 event. He talks about how he was getting out of the meeting with the national security team and how they still didn't know who was the one to cause the horrific tragedy, but they were doing everything they could to figure it out. He also mentions how the tragedy was not an accident and that this terrible person who was the one to blame would pay for his actions and he wouldn't win the battle. The following document is informing the citizens about what happened earlier that day and how things had occurred, how they affected the citizens, and it also talks about the following steps that were going to happen to be able to figure out who and what caused it. How the military and national workers had been told already what to do to help the people in need and in pain at the moment, and what they could do to help improve the citizens' safety. On the last article, it talks about the opinions of people 11 years after the tragically event. It mostly talks about how Americans have done something to help prevent events such as crashing airplanes, but that shouldn't be all they should be worried about. It mentions how there's been a couple of occasions where people have threatened Americans and the government doesn't do anything or place no worries to it because they think that they won't have the resources to cause another tragically event, in which they end up wrong and only ends up in terrible attacks, causing thousands of Americans' lives to end. It talks about how Americans underestimate their enemies because they are way too worried and focused on issues and problems from the past, such as the 9/11 event, when they should pay respect to the events like that, but also to the ones happening at this very instant as well.